I think like a lot of kids that are interested in drawing cars, they don't really know what degree, what do you study for that? What degree is it? And I guess by the time I was a freshman in high school, I'm starting to ask these questions like, what am I going to do next? How am I going to get the right education to do what I want to do? And most everybody told me I should be a mechanical engineer. That's designing cars. And I kept thinking, it doesn't seem right. Yeah, I was getting a haircut the summer before the classes started. I was already enrolled. And I'm explaining this to the woman cutting my hair that I still don't think this is the right thing. But the woman sitting next to me getting her haircut is eavesdropping. And she says, "Oh, you want to be a car designer? My brother or nephew is a car designer. And he went to UC." And I was like, "What? What did he take?"
Really?
Yeah. And she said, "Oh, he's doing an internship at Chrysler right now, and it's industrial design." And so I'm like dusting hair off, and I'm going to go down to the college right away and go and fix this.
So let me understand this correctly. We have a Cadillac 16 concept car because a woman that was getting her haircut next to you pointed you in the right direction.
It's an interesting way to look at fate, but yes.
From inside the MotoMan Studio, these are extraordinary stories of ordinary folks and how they became the people shaping the car world, the tech world, and our future. So I'm going to go out on a limb here with a wild guess. If you're watching this show, the chances are very high that you had somebody in your formative years that at least had a passing interest in cars. I'm guessing your father. Now, let's say for the sake of discussion, that person had more than a passing interest in cars. Let's say, I don't know, they worked in the car business. Then layer on top of that, that over the years, they perhaps have bought and sold many rather delicate, rather troublesome, and perhaps unreliable British and Italian cars. What kind of an impact would that have on you? Now, if that were not enough, let's say they also raced cars. Well, my guest today, Brian Smith, he lived through all of that, not only survived, but he too now has a barn full of rather delicate, rather unreliable, and rather annoying British and Italian cars. But it wasn't until he had a chance encounter while getting a haircut that sent him in a completely different direction, where he's the man now shaping exterior design direction for not only one of the oldest, but one of the most storied car brands in the world.
Full disclosure, you and I have been friends for a while now.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I wouldn't really call you, you're kind of my pushing man with very problematic British cars.
Okay.
Yeah. So it started with our discussion over your British cars, but now you've got this big job. So let's go back to the beginning. Brian Smith, where does he come from?
I grew up in Ohio,
Okay.
Cincinnati, and I ended up going to college there as well at University of Cincinnati. And funny story, I think probably from the time I was 5 years old, I knew I wanted to be a car designer.
Was your father, uncles, mother into cars?
Well, my dad was a certifiably insane car guy.
Yeah. Is that going around in Ohio? Because we know somebody else from Ohio that's got a certifiably insane father with car
might
guys.
be partly due to the area.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, something in the water.
Nothing else to do there, not
yeah.
into Buckeyes.
But my father raced in the very beginnings of NASCAR. He raced dirt track oval stock cars in the early 50s, and later got into sales and being a car dealer. And we were always tinkering with cars. As a kid, I was in the garage wrenching on them.
So was your dad racing when you came along?
He was finishing that up probably by the time I was born. I'm one of many kids, I would say.
How many?
We have kind of a Brady Bunch family. My dad was married before my mom. He's got 2 half sisters and 3 half brothers, and a sister from my mom as
And
well.
all into cars?
No, I'd say one of my half brothers ended up 2 of my half brothers ended up in car sales.
You see your dad, did he own a dealership? That's what he did?
No, he would be what you call a dealer principal. He didn't. There was a whole chain of
Yes, sir.
dealerships owned by one guy, and
Mhm.
he ran one of them.
And what
for
was that?
20 years. It was a Chrysler Jeep store.
So I'm intrigued. How does a guy? So what the audience doesn't know about you is you have a significant problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not the guy.
Only
that-
one?
It's true. Maybe we should interview your wife instead. She'd probably give us more about this problem.
Yeah.
But you're
She
not the
knows.
guy that trolls like Craigslist and other sites and buys one car. You buy an entire garage of cars at a time. So, but those are usually Italian cars, British cars. How does a kid growing up on Chrysler product get into that kind of stuff?
Well, when I was really young, he was selling Cadillacs.
Yeah,
So-
funny, a really harbinger of things to come.
Yeah, yeah. I rode around in Cadillacs in the mid '80s, the 864,
Oh yes.
the ones that sounded like they weren't running right.
Yeah, there's one of those over there. I don't
yeah.
know. I think that's a 4100 though.
Yeah, that one is.
Yeah.
But we, some of the diesels that were made from regular IC engines.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he'd been at many different brands, but he was always interested in old British sports cars. And
Oh, so the disease you got from your father.
so we had them around. Yes, they overflowed into
Mhm.
the driveway and into the yard, and luckily we lived up kind of in the woods where the neighbors wouldn't
Yeah.
complain. But
So this kind of confirms the apple does not fall far from the tree because you live amongst a sea of cars and your daily cars
Yeah.
are no longer allowed in the garage because you have too many cars.
right. And the deal with my wife was that I have to clean the snow off her car every morning before I leave for work because she has to park outside, and that's
Okay.
a small price to pay.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder when the snow gets pretty deep, but
Yeah.
you know,
And it's just for the avoidance of doubt, how long have you been married doing this?
20 years.
Oh, you're an old man. I forget how old of a man you are.
Well, I'm glad you forgot. But
So how does it go from just wrenching on cars with Dad to I want to start sketching cars?
it's funny, my dad and I kind of live vicariously through each other. Like, as a kid growing up, he wanted to be a car designer.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells me the story about coming to Detroit in 1951 and sneaking into the Chrysler Design Studios in Highland Park.
How do you do that?
He dressed in a suit and followed somebody through the door.
Just
pretending.
acted like he belonged there.
He's a car dealer. He's very good at pretending to be somebody that belongs there.
Yeah.
So he made it all the way to the biggest office he could find, and,
Yeah.
and told him he wanted to design cars. And
How did that go?
shortly thereafter, he was kicked out by security. But they did ask him to draw a few since he'd made it all the way there, so he had a shot.
Really?
Yeah.
Now
They-
that's a unique story.
Yeah, he says they weren't impressed. But yeah, he probably put the thought in my mind, I guess. I was already into cars, throughout, really in my blood, and wrenching on them. And I had some artistic talent, thanks to my grandfather on my mom's side. He was quite an artist, did paintings and a lot of his own art as a hobby.
Mm.
And I think I picked up some of that talent, and pretty soon the subject of my drawings were cars.
Like at what age? College age or your teenager?
No, like 7.
Oh, so this was early on.
Yeah.
This is where this discussions I always have with like the likes of you and Bob and Ralph. This is where I get annoyed because my drawings were cars when I was 7, but I don't run Cadillac, and I don't like that.
Yeah? Well,
Yeah. Maybe I should have grown up in Ohio.
Maybe you should have tried harder. I don't know.
Oh, is that how it's going to be? Okay, this is going to get ugly. So, was there ever a discussion of you need to go to this school in Detroit or this school in California or this school in London or Germany for that matter?
I didn't know. I think like a lot of kids that are interested in drawing cars, they don't really know what degree, what do you study for that? What degree is it? And I guess by the time I was a freshman in high school, I'm starting to ask these questions like, what am I going to do next? How am I going to get the right education to do what I want to do? And most everybody told me I should be a mechanical engineer. That's designing cars. And I kept thinking, it doesn't seem right. Because I kept thinking more of the creative side, less the mechanical.
You want to do the shape.
Yeah, absolutely. And oddly enough, my mom worked for University of Cincinnati for years, so in one of the labs at the University Hospital, and so free tuition.
See, now I like you even less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
So so it was kind of a foregone conclusion. I'm going to go to University of
Yeah.
Cincinnati. It's hard to pass that up, and so I still, by the time my senior year rolled around and it's time to sign up for classes in the fall, I enrolled in mechanical engineering and got accepted.
Because that's what people were telling you to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, sir.
And funny story, I was getting a haircut the summer before classes started. I was already enrolled, and I'm explaining this to the woman cutting my hair that I just don't think I still don't think this is the right thing. I'm not in the right
Okay, so let's pause
college
there. I
at
don't want to
school.
drive past this. You were explaining to a hairdresser that you don't know if mechanical engineering is a good thing for you.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how that conversation came up, to be honest.
Was that your way of picking up the hairdresser?
No, maybe. I don't know. But the woman sitting next to me getting her haircut is eavesdropping. And she says, "Oh, you want to be a car designer? My brother or nephew is a car designer, and he went to UC." And I was like, "What? What did he take?"
Really?
Yeah, and she said, "Oh, he's doing an internship at Chrysler right now, and it's industrial design." And so I'm like dusting hair off, and I'm going to go down to the college right away and go and fix this. And so I enrolled in industrial design, but it was too late to get in. They had already accepted all their applicants.
Yeah.
So for my first year, I had to just take the sort of all the prescribed book classes that I could take outside the college and try to gear myself to switch the following year.
So let me understand this correctly. We have a Cadillac 16 concept car because a woman that was getting her haircut next to you pointed you in the right direction.
It's an interesting way to look at fate, but yes. Basically, I was in the right place
this
at the right
interview is
time.
over. I think we're done. That's all we needed to find out today. Okay, so you went for industrial design. Actually, before we press on, I do want to share something interesting with you. You have something in common with the man that invented the Nissan Z, or the Datsun, then Datsun Z. He got the same advice.
Yeah.
Matsuo-san was given, it was more of, I think it wasn't advice, it was more like, my son is not going to draw cars. My son is going to be a mechanical engineer.
Right.
And he was sent down the path of mechanical engineering. However, he didn't get his hair cut in the same place you did, so he became a mechanical engineer and by happenstance fell into designing the Z.
Truth be told, it's probably great to have a mechanical engineering degree as well as a design degree.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I got that from tinkering on cars to a certain extent. Like I know how cars go together, I know what's under the skin, and I can pretty much do anything to a car. But
which we will find out in a bit. We'll get to your car, your amazing collection of cars. So you went to the same school as Phil Zach then? I think he went to U of C.
I think he went to Cleveland.
Oh, he went to Cleveland. Yes.
Yes, the other Ohio
Cleveland,
school.
Cincinnati.
There's another
it's all
one
the
in
same
Ohio.
to me. The only thing I know about it was Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you're at Cincinnati now. You're industrial design. What happens from there?
Well, I got told right away that all of my studio projects looked automotive, and I said that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I got told by my professors right away I was at the wrong school for what I wanted to do.
So they actually said to you should be going to CCS or Art Center.
Yep. Yep. And I got my first internship at Kenner Toys, which was a cool internship at the time.
They did the Star Wars toys back in the day.
Yes.
Yes.
And I worked on, as an intern, a lot of the Jurassic Park toys from the first movie. So my job as an intern for the first week was to read the book. The Michael
Jurassic
Crichton.
Park.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they supplied
I've known
me.
you for like 10 years. I didn't know this about you.
Yeah. Yeah. I designed the Command Compound playset as an intern and did all the pattern drawings that became the drawings for the guys in the tool shop to make the actual injection molding tools. So I learned a lot.
Super cool.
I learned a lot there about mold flow and draft and how to get the, all the tooling and yeah, it was really valuable internship. And it was literally given to me because it was the job none of the guys that worked there actually wanted. They don't like doing the pattern drawings and stuff, so give it to the intern.
Yeah.
And
so that's the hubcap duty of the toy world.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just the nitty gritty stuff that is tedious, I guess I would say. But so that led to me meeting some of the guys that worked there. That some of them were ex-car designers, and I started to ask for a little advice how to draw cars better, and I got it. You know, one of the guys had me over at night, at his house, and we rendered cars, you know, for a whole evening, and I used some of those sketches to get an internship at Chrysler for my next one.
What time frame is this that you get an internship at Chrysler?
1993, summer of 93.
93. So you and Ralph started around the same time.
Yeah, I think he was about a year
He
ahead
was
of
a year
me.
ahead of you. He was
Yep.
92 when he got there.
Yeah. So, in fact, I did my summer internship with Mark Allen.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Who will be at the party tonight.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And I'm sure he'll bring a crazy Jeep with him.
He always does. Or he brings a 911. And Bob and I love to needle him a little bit and say, wow, the new Jeep is looking lovely this year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally threw away the straight edges. But yeah, there's a whole cast of characters that we interned with that are all, you know, designers now at various companies.
Was that when Bob, now we keep on referring to a Bob, for those of that don't know, Bob Boniface, Global Design Director for Buick, used to be in your job.
Yes.
Wonderful guy, also has a significant problem with lots of cars.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
He does. So you are now there, and this was that when Bob was at Cadillac? I mean, excuse me, Chrysler?
Yeah, Bob would have been there, I think. Yeah.
And did you know him back then?
I didn't. No, not till I would say 3-4 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was an internship. When did it turn into, where was the job? You graduate U of C, where do you go?
Well, my last internship was at GM.
Okay.
While I was in school, I got to work at Chrysler, Ford, GM, and Johnson Controls.
What did you do at Johnson Controls?
I was in their international studio working on Jag and Lexus interiors.
Where was that?
In Holland, Michigan. So Cincinnati's a co-op school, so it's a 5-year program, and
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Okay,
yeah,
so it's
and
a
so you
Northeastern.
intern after you get to your second year.
Mhm.
You do an internship every other quarter.
That's
so you
awesome.
do 2 a year.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was able to do 6 internships at 5 different companies before I graduated, and had multiple job offers then at graduation.
And what were the offers from?
I got one from Johnson Controls,
Mhm.
one from GM. I did an interview with Chrysler well before graduation that didn't go well.
Why is that?
It's probably a long story, but I was good friends with Tom Gale's son. I went to
Okay.
school with him. Still friends with him, Jeff Gale, and so knew his dad. His dad specifically asked them to interview me, and I had this whole feeling during the interview that they didn't want to be interviewing. They didn't want to be told by the vice president to interview me or something.
Oh, yeah.
it
So
was just an
basically you
odd
were doing
vibe.
top-down selling, and they didn't quite appreciate it.
Yeah, there was an odd vibe, and at the time that was the place I wanted to work. They were doing all the hot products.
Yeah,
and,
the concept cars were
in the
amazing in the early
mid-'90s.
90s, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got there right after they did the Viper Coupe and some of the really exciting, cab forward work that they were
So
doing.
when did you graduate university?
95.
95, because it's a 5-year program.
Yep.
If I'm reading the tea leaves correctly here, what's interesting about your journey thus far is there's a lot of fortuitous events and people that have come into your life that have helped you along the way.
Absolutely, yeah.
It wasn't like your dad said you go and sketch cars and become a car designer. You had the haircut person, and then you got to know a lot of people at these car companies. Clearly, you made an impression because you got offers from virtually every one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to kind of network. It's a small community. It's a tight-knit area. Everybody knows everybody, and I think the variety of places I was able to work really did help my situation, because Cincinnati at the time did not have a transportation program at all. It was more of a product design focus, and I had to go and do that on my own.
And where'd you end up going?
I went to GM. I really liked the people at GM. I had a few friends that had come to GM and helped me into the door, and it was good.
And so what's
Been there
the
ever since.
So you're 24 years now at General Motors.
Yes.
You're practically an old man.
I'm starting to feel old.
Yeah. Well, when
I
you
hope-
drive old British cars, yeah, that makes you feel old real quick.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
So what was your first job at General Motors?
I was in Pontiac working with John Mack.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, we know John Mack. He comes
Yeah.
to the party.
Yep. He was my first boss at GM, really.
Okay. Was he into the bikes back then?
I don't know. But he kicked all our butts in the design studio.
How so?
He could do a sketch in minutes that would kill one of ours we spent hours on.
Okay. And what were you working on at Pontiac?
Bonneville, Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
As a first-year student, you don't get handed a whole car. I was doing bits and pieces.
So were you the one that decided to put the subwoofer button in the roof?
No, I was in the exterior side. I don't,
Okay,
I don't,
you didn't do that.
I don't delve into the
Yeah.
behind the glass.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I guarantee most people want an answer to this burning question. Why all the cladding?
I think initially it started by sharing some sheet metal with other brands and
Uh-huh.
having to differentiate.
Okay.
It later became part of the theme of the cars, which was a challenge for me to accept at the time. I like cleanliness in my designs, and a lot of those Pontiacs were very
Very busy.
overwrought a little
Yeah.
bit, and so it was. It was one of those things. You don't always agree with the philosophy of, the studio you're in, but you have to do your best to, still get your designs chosen and work it, the direction you think's
So
right.
what did you ever get to a point where a design was chosen in that job?
Well, I did. I would say I got a theme chosen that got somewhat blown apart when it went full size a bit. At the time, back then we didn't have a lot of say in the vehicle architecture. It was more or less lots of carryover under the skin. You got sort of a bandwidth of 3 or 4 millimeters here and there in the section you could change, and couldn't adjust the corners. The wheel size wasn't really up for grabs, so there wasn't a lot you could influence. And when you do a scale model, you capture this gesture and feeling and emotion by sort of ignoring some of that. And then when it goes full size, it's
Has that changed drastically today?
it has, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
How so?
We are much more engaged early on in the process with engineering to enable the proportions that we need, and I think you can see that in our products. I mean, it's night and day difference from where it used to be when I first started at GM, where engineering would kind of throw something over the wall and we get to play with whatever's left.
Yeah.
And
Here, put a wrapper on this if you could. That'd be
yeah,
great.
yeah, you could tape some lines and window graphics, but it was like there wasn't a lot of opportunity. So now we get involved in the very early architectural stages so that we know that the wheels are in the right spot, the overhangs are correct, and the windshield position is something that we are ready to work with.
How much can you vary it between brands nowadays?
Well, as we get into the future, we're trying to do even more differentiation. As we start to talk about electrification, there's more opportunities between components and component sets, because now you're talking about an architecture that's basically a battery and electric motors.
Okay, so let's go back. What was the first car, either at Pontiac or somewhere else, that your sketch won out?
Be the GMC Envoy, 2001. So that was in '96. So I was there for about a year, and I won a theme.
Okay.
That went to production.
Okay. So you were at that point, what, just around 30 or something like that?
No, that was '96. I was like 24.
That is quite an achievement.
Yeah.
To have a whole car picked at 24.
Yeah.
Of all the guys, and I hang out with you guys, there's only a handful of guys I can think of that have done that. There's Randy over at Nissan. Well, he's not Nissan, he's Tesla now. He got his sketch when he was 28 picked. So you beat him by 4 years.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Impressive. Yeah. Yeah. And where do you go from there? Where do you go from GMC?
I went to an advanced studio for a while. That was no clay, which I didn't like. It was much more.
Computer or your
No.
like wood bucks?
No, it was drawing, strategy, charts and graphs. You know, it wasn't as hands-on as I liked. You know, to get into real nitty-gritty design work.
Yeah.
It was more or less an experiment on how to feed the process with new ideas for production vehicles.
So where was this? Was it still in Michigan or was it somewhere else?
Yeah, no, it was here in Warren. Yeah,
Okay.
at the technical center. Shortly after that, I got an international assignment at Saab. I moved to Saab in '99.
No, so you were in Trollhättan.
Yes. Yep. And took my wife with me.
Mm-hmm.
I
Were
got
you
married.
digging out snow there?
Yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit in the winter. It didn't snow any more than Detroit.
Okay.
In fact, it wasn't as cold as it gets here, but very dark.
So let's pause there for a minute. Now I got to ask him something very important to see where this comes in. You're now in your mid-20s. You've got an international assignment. You're a married man at this point. Is your wife into cars?
No.
She's not into cars.
She tolerates them.
So how did you meet your wife if you have all these cars and she's not into cars?
I met her at a bar in Detroit.
Wow. Okay, the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Nice. Impressive. So what point do you start getting your own cars? Like, when do you start getting these ridiculous British cars or whatever you have?
Ridiculous.
We will get to the list of cars. We
Okay.
will get there.
Well, I still have the first British car I ever bought.
Which is what?
A '67 Triumph TR4.
I haven't seen that one.
That's because it's all in pieces. I bought it when I was 15 with my own money. I drained my bank account
Mm-hmm.
and got it running and did kind of a high school restoration on it. And I drove it a little bit in high school and college. I drove it from Cincinnati to Detroit numerous times.
Was that your daily?
No. In the summer, I drove it
Yeah.
almost daily, but
Okay.
no, I had a couple Datsun Z cars that were
Okay.
kind of my everyday
So
cars.
the Matsuo-san theme has come in again here.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's all intertwined.
So you had cars all along in this process, in your adjustment to becoming a professional.
Yeah,
And what about when you went to Sweden? Did you get any cars over there?
I did. I bought an Austin Mini
Cool.
from a guy I worked with,
Mm-hmm.
and brought it back when I repatriated.
Okay. How long were you over there?
I was only there about a year. It was supposed to be a year and a half, and they sent me back here to work on a Saab project that was shared with a Cadillac at the time.
The crossover?
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep. But it's before the one you're thinking of because it never saw the light of day. It got canceled. I moved.
Oh, okay.
I had my first son was born in Sweden
Wow.
while we lived there, and brought the whole family back to do this car, and then it got canceled like a month later. But that's when I landed in Cadillac.
So you came back to Cadillac. Actually, a little fun fact here, that the one that did see the light of day, which was the Saab that was based on the SRX,
Right.
you realize it's like more rare than a Ferrari Enzo.
Yeah, very collectible.
You made like
I'm sure.
500 of them or 400 of them, some crazy low
Yeah,
number.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did not know that until
It's
recently.
way less than 1,000. I know
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
we should all buy those things because they're going to go up in value.
Maybe.
Instead of a word from our sponsors, a brief interruption. As you can imagine, all of us here are incredibly excited about the return of Inside the MotoMan Studio. So much so, we'd like to bring you more guests more frequently, and in the future, make some of these live town hall events. So to that end, we'd like to ask you a favor. Can you help us get the word out? There are two really easy ways to do this. First and foremost, can you share the show Inside the MotoMan Studio on your favorite social platforms? That includes Reddit. I would argue Reddit is even more important than the usual suspects. And then second, this is now a podcast. So go to your favorite podcast directory and subscribe, rate, and review Inside the MotoMan Studio. However you choose to help us, we'd be greatly appreciative. And now, back to this incredible story.
So what was your first job at Cadillac?
Well, I got asked to help out in the studio one day because my program was kind of shutting down, and I moved up into the Cadillac brand studio. It was kind of a less production work, more kind of advanced and strategy kind of studio, setting the tone for the brand. And the leader in there at the time didn't want to do that job anymore. And unbeknownst to me, they announced me as the new guy to run that studio. I wasn't ready for that.
And how old were you at this point?
Well, that was 99. So I was 27.
27 and you're running a studio.
Yeah.
It's amazing your career this far.
And it was without any bump in pay, and I didn't officially have the title. So.
But you're running the studio.
Yeah.
So do the work. That's great. He will pay you in all the pizza you can
Right.
eat. Sounds like
Yeah.
the startup environment that I was in.
Yeah, right. But great thing happened. Bob Lutz showed up at GM.
Okay, this theme is continuing.
And was instantly, interested in Cadillac, and we had a few ideas for concept vehicles going at the time. One of which was going to be a V12 ultra luxury rear-wheel drive sedan. And when he turned up and he said, "Why would it be a V12? Let's make it a V16."
That's a Bob Lutz thing to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, so the 16 concept car, that was my first job as a manager, really.
Was it your sketch?
No, we had a couple of designers. It was a blend of two themes.
Cedric worked on that with you, didn't he?
Yep, Cedric Dondre and Amari Diaz. And they were kind of competing themes on a full-size model. And we took the best bits of each one and boiled it all down into this. That car, the proportions still
Crazy.
today are just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been sitting here, but today it's not here for some reason.
Yeah, I didn't have enough pull to make it happen.
Bob Lutz did. I just want to point that out. When I was here last, we had the 16. Yeah, maybe it's. I'm going to see him tomorrow, so maybe it's in his house
maybe you can
right
get
now.
it for me. Yeah, okay.
So that's a hell of a jump, man. You're doing cars that get canceled to all of a sudden this wacky proportion, I would say amazing proportion, car that is a moonshot.
Yeah, it was, I would say, project of a lifetime, really. I mean, it was something that was, it was a supreme challenge because there was so much car to design, and we had to design the engine compartment and every bit on the motor and the shut faces and a lot of the structure and wheels and
that
it was a big job.
engine bay is I just argue is more beautiful than the exterior of the car. The way you have the concept car, it looks. Yeah. Judging by the look on your face, you don't seem to agree.
Yeah, I like the exit, but
yeah,
very nice engine bay.
It's a very nice engine bay.
Yeah,
so,
I'm a firm believer in beautiful componentry.
Which is one of the reasons why you and I get along with and love British cars.
Yeah.
Yes, because we have that. Even though they don't work, they look lovely.
Mine all work, except for one that's taken apart.
So, is there now? Bob Lutz is Bob Lutz. Bob's got he has got a personality and he's got a reputation that is larger than life. And I would think he could run interference for a vehicle like that to be made. Was there any pushback when you were trying to work on that? Were other people like, "Why are we doing this?" Or did he completely run tackle on all that stuff?
No, I mean everybody followed him. I mean he was.
So there was no. It was like just smooth sailing on that.
Yeah,
one.
No question. Yeah,
nice.
No questions asked. I mean it was really like a anything you need kind of program.
And how long did that take you?
It was about a year and a half, including the build, all of it.
And then so now that finishes. That you showed it around. You were given. I remember you were giving journalists rides in that car. They were driving it. It actually was. It's not. It's a China doll, but it actually moves. So what real cars were you working on at that point?
You mean production cars?
Yeah, production cars. I like the way you corrected me on that. Nice job.
They're all real.
They're all real. That's true. Yeah. My apologies. That was a faux pas. I just got very excited about the Trans Am and the Buick station wagon over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I worked a little bit on the DTS replacement, and that was another one that was going to be an all new reskin, and it got rescoped to like just some of the sheet metal at the time. And after that, I went back to advanced after
Mm-hmm.
working on the 16, and did a lot of studies on how to make it real, to your point,
Yes.
production vehicle. And we worked through a lot of that, and then I got into proportional development for the second-gen CTS in the advanced space, and fed that back to the Cadillac Studio.
That car came out in '08.
Yes.
Yeah, as an '09. Mm-hmm.
And then right after that, got into the Camaro.
So that project, clarify a couple things for me. That car came out in 2010, but I feel like we saw that car in 1971. They started showing concept cars of the 2010 Camaro. When did it actually start, the project?
Well, it was a 2006 concept car, but we started doing scale model work probably in 2004, late 2004.
Is that unusual to have that kind of runway?
Well, no one asked us to do it at first.
So you just decide, hey, let's do a Camaro now
I
that we're done with
was
16?
working for Bob Bonneville at the time, and we just had a little discussion about missing the Camaro. You know, the Camaro went out of production in 2002, and why don't we have a Camaro again? And we had all these great new rear-wheel drive architectural bits from the Zeta and the CTS, you know, rear-wheel drive architecture, and we started to look at how to adapt that into a coupe.
Let me understand this correctly. You and Bob were talking as you do, and you started sketching cars on your own. It wasn't like, hey, Bob says let's do a Camaro.
Well, there's a certain, you can burn some extra midnight oil if you know you're working on a Camaro.
Okay.
And so we
this
did
was
it
a personal project.
So yeah, kind of. We kept it on the down low, kept the model hidden a little bit. We weren't sure how our boss would respond.
And this is not Bob Lutz who's your boss. Who was your boss at the time?
Well, Ed Welburn did a quick scale model. It was actually based on Gen 2 Camaro, which was always my favorite growing up. Everybody kind of responds to the 69 as being the Camaro, but the early split bumper RS front, you know, second gen was the inspiration for the proportion model we did. And we put it on the shelf, kind of hid it from prying eyes, and lo and behold, one day, I don't know, a couple months later, one of the chief engineers called us up and wanted to have a meeting about maybe doing a rear-wheel drive coupe as a Camaro.
Nice.
So we said, yeah, we already got one of those, come on over, and we pulled it out. And pretty soon it was an internal project, and it spun into a concept car, and that was a real challenge because we got told, okay, well, it can't be a Gen 2 inspired car, it's got to be Gen 1 69 inspired, and finding the right balance of retro versus modern was a big part of that job. And the first development, I would say, took us to pretty close to the cast date for what we were going to have to cast for the shops to build a concept vehicle. Still was too retro. And so there was a big dome show with senior leadership. And
for the avoidance of doubt, explain to the audience what the dome is.
Our styling domes, where we do our inside design reviews, you know. Generally, we do them outdoors if we can, but this being Michigan, you don't
have that luxury.
Yeah, exactly.
But the dome is pretty cool looking from the outside.
It is.
It's very iconic.
Stainless steel wrapped dome.
Yeah.
So, and the lighting, we can generate sunset lighting, you know, set the mood and get the right reflections on the models, however we like. But we had a review in there, and it was decided that we needed to go back to the drawing board, and it became a competition then between us and Tom Peters.
And Sang Yip, what studio was he in?
He was with Tom.
He was with Tom, okay.
Right. And so we had two models. We had the model we were using for shows, and we had the same model duplicated for the shop to cast.
Yeah.
And Ed Welburn asked us to give the other one to Tom's studio, and it became, I would say, about a 3-week, maybe 4 weeks. The project was put on hold while we did a design competition. So,
I wonder why Ed told you that, considering the car he has.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Shocker there.
Well, but it is the iconic, I would say, Camaro.
So after the Camaro, where do you go? So obviously, the history is Tom's group got it. And a little side note here, you probably know this, but Tom also worked in industrial design and worked on a toy.
Yeah.
In his early design
He
years.
worked for Texas Instruments.
He worked
for
for
a while.
Texas Instruments,
Yeah.
and he worked on the E.T. movie with that thing that he uses. Tom and his wife designed that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's amazing
Was that
how
the speak and spell, or what was that?
whatever that. Yeah, I think it was a speaker.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but it's that thing that E.T. touched
Cool.
on. So where do you go to after the Camaro thing if Tom gets the project?
Well, yeah, Tom's Studio kind of won the bake-off, and I made a push to follow it to production.
Yeah.
And so they moved me down there to
So you did
work
stay with the
Tom.
car.
So I stayed with the car, switched studios, and worked with Tom for a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tom's a great guy. Tom's
Yeah,
wife,
yeah, awesome.
We'll see them tonight. They're
Amazing.
awesome. And he's retired now. So then, that's Chevy, and weren't you working on SUVs after that? Where'd you go after that?
I'm trying to think. I worked in Chevy, became the performance studio for a little while. We
Yeah.
did some Holden-based Pontiac work.
Okay. G8.
A little bit. Yeah, it was around that time.
No cladding. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes.
Bob Lutz kind of took care of that.
Good. Bob's a good man.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'm going to get me a GXP G8 with a stick and a sunroof.
Yeah?
I love that car.
There you go.
Yeah.
I spent a little bit of time in the Hummer studio
Mm-hmm.
at the time working on what would have been the biggest Hummer ever.
Bigger than the one.
Oh, yeah.
Bigger than the one.
Yeah.
What was it, an airplane? A C-130 or something?
It was a big truck, but it got canceled,
Shocker.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
We kept saying we should be working on the smaller end.
Yeah, yeah.
Smaller would be better.
Yeah,
But, yeah, that was... but it was fun. Very creative studio. And
when do you go
neat,
back to Cadillac?
iconic product. I left Hummer and went to the UK studio. We have an advanced studio in Coventry, England.
Okay.
And I went on an ISP there, working with Simon Cox, doing advanced Cadillacs.
In the UK.
Yes.
That makes all the sense in the world. Because that's a huge market for a Cadillac, isn't it?
It doesn't sound right, but
Yeah.
it worked.
Did you work with Andre over there?
No,
Andre Hudson.
He was right. He had left before I went.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had one of Andre's cars. I had a Sky Redline.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Those
and
are cool.
he's an interesting dude. He literally
Yeah.
took apart an Opel Speedster and sent it back in boxes. And
I remember that. Yeah, he got around
Yeah.
importation laws somehow.
I couldn't do it with my Elise.
It's probably crushed by now. Don't you think?
No, he got into an accident.
Oh,
He crushed it. Actually, he personally crushed it.
I thought maybe customs would have showed up and fixed
No, he got out of customs, but he crushed it.
All right.
So now, okay, now you're the man. Like, what's the job now? You recently got a huge promotion.
Been recently named the director of Cadillac Exteriors.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
So what does that mean? What are you doing every day?
Well, I'm leading the team that does all of our global Cadillac exterior work.
Mhm.
We got a great team of young designers and engineers that are working really hard, sculptors that are working
How
day
long
and
have
night.
you had this job?
5 months.
5 months. So we have not seen any of your work yet.
No, and you won't for a little while.
I could imagine. Well, give us an idea. We talked about the Camaro was a 6-year, 7-year runway. What's the normal runway now? Like I just drove the XT6. When was that car started?
Just under 4 years ago.
So a little bit less of a runway.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I would think the runway's shortening even now to like 3 years. Or maybe that's Korean car companies.
Well, I think you could say that we can develop cars faster
Yeah.
with the tools we have, computers, all the technology. But really, there's so much more content in every new car that
Yeah.
there's an increased pressure on validation, especially when you talk about safety, active safety, autonomous driving.
That's the time.
Yeah, so now it's not on the front end, it's on the back end of the development to make sure the product's right when it hits the street.
So the front end is all the sketching
yes.
and the concept and how to wrap it around the
Right.
engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Has that shortened the process now that you've gotten engineering into it sooner, or you've gotten into engineering sooner?
Yeah, and it depends on when you sort of decide you're starting the clock. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of upfront work that sets the, I would say, what the mood of the vehicle is going to be, who the customer is,
Yeah.
what's its point in the portfolio,
Yeah.
and then we work the architecture. We get
Yeah.
the architectural bits where they need to be,
Mhm.
and start designing.
So I've often said that the guy who is heading design for Range Rover, Land Rover, Porsche, and Mini, hardest jobs in the world. I would argue you're kind of in the second hardest job in the world because everyone has a view of what Cadillac should be. There's a huge pressure of what Cadillac should be, and you have an additional pressure in that back in the Clay Dean days, they made a huge change. They took Cadillac from what these were to CTSs, to
Mhm.
this chiseled look. And now that's changing again, or has changed. Where, in reality, how do you deal with that? What's the way forward?
Well, I think we aren't ignoring our history
Mm-hmm.
in doing new things. The history of Cadillac's always been innovation, really dramatic proportions, a certain level of ostentatiousness that comes along with being a luxury American brand.
Yeah.
And so you take that and you kind of distill it into the future of what, the future of electrified luxury, could be. And I think there's a lot of opportunity. It's something really cool to.
But it
to think
looks
about.
like you guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you work on? I know you worked on XT5, the current XT5.
Mhm.
And did you work on the current CT5? Or you were somewhere else at that
I
point?
did work on the early stages of the CT5,
Yeah.
right up to kind of the theme development, and then I left.
So it seems as if CT5 has softened the
Mhm.
overall design language, whatever you want to call it, of Cadillac. Is that where you want to go, or do you want to chisel things out? Like these were chiseled out, man. That '67 Eldorado, that's the thing.
Yep.
Where do you want to take it as? Where do you want to put your stamp on it?
Well, we're going to keep the really strong, crisp edges. We work very hard with our engineering brethren to make sure we can enable that
Yeah.
in the sheet metal stamping quality arena. But we really are working towards more sculpture. It's more about what happens between the creases.
What does
in
that
other
mean?
words.
What is sculpture? Tell me, give me 3 examples of sculpture.
Well, like the fender on a Porsche or
Santa Maria Madre de Dios, especially new 992, they did a hell of a job with sculpture.
yeah, and you need proportions to do that, right?
Yes.
So you've got to have glass to body offsets and
Mhm.
wheels in the right position to be able to do that. And so all our early proportional work, we work to enable that. And but we're trying to get more, I would say, liquid reflective quality in the surfaces that live between the creases.
Yeah.
We're going to have very impactful graphics that work with the crisp edges, and
Graphics.
yeah, like window graphics, the
Yes.
daylight opening, lamps. We're really looking to sort of I would say the Bill Mitchell era of Cadillacs that are
Oh,
pure,
nice stuff. Which is that? That is
Yeah.
Bill Mitchell era.
pure and clean, with a lot of exquisite detail
Yeah.
that you have
What-
to almost look for.
When are we going to start seeing your work?
Well, I'm involved in a project that you'll actually see early next year, probably.
Okay. We're going to have to come back to you, and we'll talk again in more detail about that project. But now we have to have the discussion. Give us the list of cars that you have in your own garage.
Oh boy.
This is it's going to be a long time. Or just give me the highlights, because we know there's. You lifted out a whole garage of Alphas. Like how many Alphas were in that garage?
6.
And you have one left.
I don't own any of them now.
Oh, you sold them all.
Yeah.
Wow. This guy's a bit of an arbitrager on classic cars.
Yeah, I mean, I keep them for a couple of years. I enjoy them, and
Yeah.
then I move on. My goal is to own as many awesome cars as I
Yeah.
can before I die.
Tell us about 2. Tell us first about the 928, which you recently got.
It's a first year 78 no sunroof, silver 5-speed with the Pasha, black
Yeah.
and white Pasha interior.
Oh, stunning.
Um,
The only thing I disagree with you on is the sunroof. Everything else is perfect.
Okay. I like the purity of the no sunroof.
I get
of course,
I get it.
and the lighter weight
Yeah.
for that extra few pounds.
Come on now, right away. I mean, how much does the car weigh? 3,700 pounds.
No, this one's like 32.
Okay, still, what does a sunroof
Airline.
cost? 50 pounds? 40 pounds?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you guys, you're crazy. I'm good with the 40 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found it in a barn. It had been parked for 30 years with
Yeah.
busted fuel pumps, and resurrected it. And,
Yeah.
Going to be at St. John's on Sunday.
Looking forward to that. And then I would argue one of the most interesting cars in your collection. Tell us how you found the Austin.
Well, actually, a sculptor I worked with at GM called me one day and said he saw this car in his neighborhood. Garage door was open while he was walking his dog, and he saw this green
Yeah.
Austin Healey under a blanket in the garage, and he went and asked the folks about it, and he tried to wrestle it away from them, and unsuccessfully. He was trying to really get it cheap, and he called me up and said, "Hey, maybe you should go check this out. Be up your alley."
Mm-hmm.
But it's an all-original, one-owner, spruce green 1954 Austin Healey 100.
And for the avoidance of doubt, when you say one owner, it wasn't the family that still had the car, it's the guy who bought the car new.
Yep, he bought it new in Indiana when he worked at Studebaker designing cars. He was a car designer.
Oh, I didn't know that part of it.
Yeah, he was a car
Dude,
designer.
you were one of the luckiest guys in the world.
Yeah, I felt like I won the British car lottery with this one.
You did. And what about the tires?
Yeah, I drove it home on its first set of factory original Dunlop road speed tires. They weren't quite round anymore, so I had to get some other ones to drive it on, but I kept the tires for sure.
Okay. And what do we bring in? So tonight, he and I are going to Bob Boniface's Cars in My Yard party, which I call Car Garden Party, which is he talked his wife into inviting, or letting him invite 300 of his closest friends with 130 of their cars to park on his lawn so we could have White Castle and beer and do what we're doing now.
Right.
Yeah, so what are you bringing to that tonight?
I'll bring the Austin Healey, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
excited. And the wife is not coming this year.
No, she said
Yeah, she's sick.
I don't spend enough time talking to her at that
Yeah.
party. So.
But it's good. She she brings the other cars. Like that Jaguar coupe you have is stunning.
yeah, I wanted her to drive it, but
What year is the Jag?
76.
And it's an XJ coupe.
Yes.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Okay, so let's recap here. You've had a hell of a career. Okay, and you got a hell of a lot more runway to go, but give me 3 specific attributes of how you, Brian Smith from Ohio, went to U of C, got to be the guy that's leading the exterior design of one of the most iconic brands in the world.
Well, a lot of hard work,
Okay.
sweat and tears. I think.
Definitely hard work, clearly.
I think as a designer, you have to have thick skin and sort of understand.
More so than other careers?
Yeah, because
Why is that?
well, it's a creative field where some of what people call design judgment is subjective.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some objectivity and natural proportion and those things, but a lot of it's opinion. And so you have to learn how to navigate opinions to find
And
the
for the
right
avoidance,
answer.
that's opinions from both other creatives who are in design as well as suits on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I would say that.
Okay. And then third.
I think everything comes down to, for me, a lot of the fun of what I do is making the project real or making the designs real. And I think it's probably the hardest part. The easy part's coming up with the idea and the theme, something beautiful that you could call art, but making it functional, getting it on the road, takes a whole nother level of diplomacy, negotiation skills, and understanding working with engineering in a large
Interesting.
corporation.
So you're not saying it's the skills you picked up wrenching on these ridiculous British cars and Italian cars, but it's being able to work in a large corporate environment and seeing your vision through.
Well, I think working on the cars thing kind of helps, because
Yeah.
that's really given me ammunition. Knowing how cars go together always helps in
Yeah.
conversations with engineering.
Yeah.
But it really is, it's a collaborative process,
Yeah.
and you have to know, how to negotiate and navigate and see things from the other side.
Yes, sir.
And at the end of the day, we're doing it all for our customers. And if the car on the road doesn't excite the customers, then we've failed.
On that note, two things. Number one, I now have a place. I shouldn't be telling you this. I'll probably regret telling you this. I now have a place to put that ridiculous British car you and I have been talking about. So continue to send me the Craigslist listings of the cars for me.
Okay.
And number two, we have to have you back on beginning part of next year, and we'll talk about the car that has come from your Cadillac Studio.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you, sir. An absolute
right.
pleasure.
Many thanks for joining us throughout the entirety of this episode. And don't forget, subscribe, rate, and review Inside the MotoMan Studio on your favorite podcast directory. And while you're sharing, how about on your socials as well as on Reddit? Until our next incredible guest, bis später.